Live from Victory Burger, inside the Circa Resort and Casino, it's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
This is the spot to watch the pro football title game. First week of February. Victory Burger, Circa Las Vegas. You can book here. You can book the tables. You can book the ledge, as we'll call it. But you're probably going to have to book it because you're not going to walk into Circa on Super Sunday and, just, hey, I'm just going to grab this spot. This place gets crazy. I mean, it's a stadium atmosphere with 3 stories. It's fantastic. There's going to be drink and food specials all over the place, but you are going to have to reserve a spot, just brass tacks. CircaLasVegas.com. And Victory Burger is really cool. Really cool. And obviously, the burgers, the rest of the menu, dynamite. Alex White, the best female handicapper in the country. I'm sure you hate that. No, you might be the best handicapper in the country. You consistently win. She finished second in the Circa Invitational. 35 different handicappers all season long. 7 picks, college and pro, a mix of them. And what'd you wind up? Were you over 60%? Because before the last week I tracked it, I think you were at 60.9%. So I'm just going to go with over 60%. Only problem, Chuck Edel did 63%. But the rest of the field, oh, mama, there are a lot of folks who really struggled. You know why? Because it's hard. And anyone who tells you they're picking 70%, cut it out. It's hard.
Hey, Chuck Edel killed it this year, and especially in his best bets, and that's where I really struggled. I could have done a little bit better if my best bets you get an extra half a point, but final record 73, 49, and 4.
What? Griffin, I know you were not a math major, but 73 and 49 picking 7 games a week. I mean, come on. Come on, bruh.
Just nothing but impressive. Very, very, very impressive.
By the way, I was supposed to leave bro exclusively for Caleb Herring. So I screwed that up. Buddy, I think Buddy's reserved for, I don't know if I called Arash Buddy. I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore. I might have to come up with something else.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't call another grown, especially if you really want to demean another man as a man, call him Bud. Calling a grown man Bud.
I didn't say Bud. No, you're right. Bud is different than Buddy.
Yeah.
Pal can be a good thing, but the wrong tone, there's trouble.
You're not wrong. If you say pal, the guy's either really happy with you or he's really upset with you.
Yeah. And only Xavier Pope, we exchanged the I love you at the end. He's got that one. By the way, you don't have to do that. That might get a little bit awkward.
Before he was jumping on, I was thinking to myself, I think this is the guy that says I love you at the end of every segment.
He cares.
Yeah.
He cares. We care about him. We're very concerned. Very concerned. We're going to have a little bit of run and roll basketball here, and then we'll expound on that with Curtis Terry, CT, played for the Rebels, part of the broadcast team, co-host of the Kevin Kruger radio show. We'll do that around 5:25. I'm trying to tie up some loose ends. You asked me quickly with Brad Powers who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Notre Dame. I don't root for Goliath, which is funny because Notre Dame is a Goliath as well, but it's a lesser of the Goliaths. And I don't know. I don't like. There's plenty not to like about Notre Dame, but it's the lesser of two evils. I don't like Ohio State fans. Ryan Day is annoying. Although, for me, Ryan Day has actually become sort of a sympathetic figure because, and this is why you don't like the fans, because it gets so out of control. All right, he can't beat Michigan. He might win a national title. What do you want?
Right. Yeah, I am rooting for Ryan Day to prove that he can get this national championship too.
And Ryan Day has also been smart in using Ohio State's money on coaches. Chip Kelly, to get a sitting head coach at UCLA to go, you know what, I hate this. I just want to coach football. I just want to coach a unit.
Yeah.
To get Chip Kelly was amazing. Jim Knowles was recognized as one of the best DCs in the country, and he went and got him. So that was smart. And that it does say a lot about a coach that he has the ability to delegate and maybe more important, not feel threatened by other big names. I'm sure there's a lot of coaches out there like, I don't know, man. I've heard about Chip. We're going to be butting heads all the time. He's got a really big ego. Ryan Day did it, and it's worked.
Yeah, and you say you sure there are a lot of coaches. You know there are a lot of coaches out there that are like that, and they have too big of an ego to bring somebody in.
Yeah.
Like
that won't delegate because they feel like won't delegate because they're control freaks, but more importantly, won't make it easy for the OC or DC to achieve because it might outshine them. Just so dumb.
Yeah.
All right, how about this angle? I heard this question posed to a guest on another show. Does the money being shelled out for the rosters, does that take away from your enjoyment? I never thought about that. And my answer before I have a habit of asking questions and answering it myself first, I don't care. Because I don't think it matters. It's freaking hill of beans right now. The teams are what they are, and the money is just a money figure. It doesn't guarantee that you blended guys well. It doesn't guarantee that you schemed, that you coached up your quarterback. Like I don't know what Will Howard makes. I don't know what Riley Leonard makes. I don't care.
I'm with you. I do not either. I mean, think about some of these NFL rosters and how they do, even how much their salaries are.
Right? Do we really ever break down? You know?
No.
$2 million running back versus 14 million. What? Like who? I'm sorry, the Eagles, right? What's the Eagles matchup here again? So it's Eagles,
Rams.
Yep, I'm rooting for the Rams now. Rams running backs, they don't spend a lot of money on them. I hate Saquon. Too much money. No, we don't do that.
No.
Now, is it an easy transition? Like this is the other one. I don't look at Will Howard like making money. He's like a pro. I don't care. He's getting a cut of the billions of dollars that Ohio State brings in. He's getting a cut.
The other thing is Will Howard's a little bit of an underdog right now because nobody seems to believe in him. He gets no credit for this offense whatsoever. It's just skilled positions everywhere. It's like anybody could step on the field and do this.
This Jeremiah Smith just gets the ball from the snap.
Right. So.
There's so many good angles on this game. Another one. Say Will Howard goes out. National title game on Monday. 12 of 27, 2 interceptions, can't hit Jeremiah Smith consistently. Disaster. Isn't there a guy who was at Ohio State who just threw for like 7,000 yards this year? Kyle McCord?
Yep.
So, like, they could have a great season, make the title game. Their quarterback could pull an El Flapo, and then Ryan Day, in the end, you blew it with Kyle McCord. He was better than Will Howard.
A lot of interceptions with him too, but
that's another reason why he. Yeah, well, they throw a lot. So I'm gonna root for Notre Dame.
How about the Jeremiah Love versus Jeremiah Smith thing? Star running back on one side and star wide receiver on the other. Should be. I'm glad Brad Powers agreed with me on that Notre Dame under. No one wants to root for an under, right? But I really do think that first half at least is going to be a rock fight. And I think Notre Dame's defense is good enough to keep them in there, right? It's just a matter of how long they can slow down that offense.
I listen to a lot of sports talk radio. I listen because I want to hear how people are doing radio. I also like to steal ideas. And I hear questions that maybe I wouldn't have asked. So it's not necessarily stealing ideas. I finally heard a show, and I know there's probably plenty of them that do it, but we are consistent on this. I finally heard a show, and I'm still on Notre Dame and Ohio State. I finally heard a show that had a discussion about how awesome Dan Campbell is for going for it on fourth down as much as he does. Now, the discussion got annoying because they kept saying he's aggressive. Now, if you listen to this show over the years, and I am a convert, Adam Hill, say 5 years ago, was talking about it's not aggressive, it's what you're supposed to do. Like the risky move is actually punting from your own 42 on 4.5 inch. That's the risky move.
Right.
That's that, so it's not aggressive, but Campbell, I don't think Campbell will get full credit until they win a title, and he'll have had, like, in the last 3 games to the title, 7 of 7 on 4th down. And maybe like a fake special teams play that works. And the reason I mentioned that discussion, because they were giving Campbell a lot of credit. They also pointed out that the commies really were aggressive on 4th down, which I think that's awesome too. Because we kind of pigeonhole, Dan Quinn, defensive guy. He's a little bit older. But more and more of these guys are getting to the point where they're like, no, that's actually the right move. Another good point on Campbell to mention, and then listen, Belichick did this years ago. Remember when Belichick went for it on like 4th down at his own like 22-yard line because he was facing Peyton Manning in the game. His defense was struggling, and it's like, hey, that's my option, man. I don't have the number in front of me. How many different starters went down for the Lions defense this year?
Oh my gosh. I don't have the number either, but it was number 1.
Do the Lions have the best offense in the league?
Yes, I think so.
Why would you not? Why would you not, when the numbers say to do it, right? Whatever they are, the top 4, right? Why would you not rely on the best unit by far on your team to make up for the shortcomings that keep you nervous about your D?
Okay, so the bad part, though, is everybody is praising him now up until this point, number 1 seed overall, the NFC. But if he doesn't, like you said, he has 3 more games, or otherwise he will start to be criticized again for it if it comes down to that and it hurts him, right? Just like last year in the NFC Championship game.
I'll say consistent action through 17 or 18 games before the last 2 or 3. That's a bigger sample than the 2 or 3.
I agree.
So I'm down with it. He had the weird game where he got within 10 points with like 11 minutes left and onside kicked down. It was like, okay, now you've gotten back into it. You didn't have to onside kick. But whatever. Hey, I think consistency is probably the best thing. So my whole point was I believe when it comes time to be aggressive and go for it, Marcus Freeman will. I know it was a long path. Freeman will. I don't know that Ryan Day will. And that could be the difference in the game.
Yeah, and he's got a dual threat quarterback that can help make the plays on 4th down. And that's what we see from the Commanders. And that's why Dan Quinn will go for it. And to your point exactly, their offense is definitely a better unit than their defense. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it's a good story for Marcus Freeman as well. I mean, he's got to be one of the younger coaches to be in a national championship game, right?
Think he's 36?
I think he's 38.
Is he?
So.
But he looks 36. Very handsome guy. Yeah, last week we had our buddy Mike Felder. I was talking about the accomplishment of the African American coach making it to the title game, having a chance to be the first to win the national championship, and he was like, "Man, he's yoked, isn't he?" I was like, "Well, he is, but it's not my number one factor for loving him." But yeah, it's a good story.
39, he is actually.
And upsets do happen, right? That's an imperfect game, and that's why when we talk about legacies. And people are shredded for losing in big spots. There's so many things that happen in those moments in big spots.
Just one game. Yeah.
So it's funny. The game last night that I went to at the Thomas & Mack, UNLV takes on Utah State. And I will say, if anyone listens, listen, I think Rebel fans, they want an NCAA tournament. Those are kind of the standards at this birth. It's NCAA tournament birth. These are the standards that this program is measured by. Not only that, but advancing in the NCAA tournament. And it's been a rough run of late. And this season was kind of lined up like, hey, here's the team. They need to make the tournament. So they couldn't win key games in the non-con. They lost their first 2 big games against tough teams by a lot. So they go into last night's game against Utah State, number 22 team in the country, 16-1 on the year. And I had multiple people because I don't know. I think I put out a Kruger pregame video, tagged it with, hey, the Utah State's laying 4.5, 5. And I had multiple tweets back, like 4.5. Crazy. I had one person tweet at me and they were like, more like 14.5. And I like, without hesitation, I'm like, where can we meet? I will take that bet. And that's not a homer thing, but like, if you're going to give me 14.5, now that person wasn't serious. So they never responded. There are things in a basketball game when you're watching. Like, it's another one of those sports. There are runs, there is depletion of confidence that can happen. And I thought, like, they got bombed at Boise State. They didn't play physical enough. They got beat up. They didn't respond. They earned that loss. And as I said yesterday, that loss was by 22, and it was really like a 29-point game. Like, a lot of times you hear the statement, like, oh, it was much closer than the score. That was not. Colorado State was much closer, and then they finished strong, hit a bunch of threes, and the Rebels just kind of they lost. You know, in the end, they kind of leaked oil and fell apart. Still a 22-point loss. But going to the last night's game, I'm like, all right, they're back on their home floor. I think they can stay in this game. There's also emotion. Like, Utah State's on a roll. They're going to respect this Rebel team, maybe not as much as they should. And on the broadcast, and this year I've made an effort to be a little more with the Southern reports, a little more sports talky during the game. So I will give an opinion. And I don't know, I looked up, it was like 6:20 left. I think they had fallen down maybe 56, 51 or something. And I just said, like, hey, Kruger's talking about confidence and his responsibility is to keep guys up. But in the end, sometimes you just got to make plays. Like, there's only so much you can coach. Now, I guess coaching aggressiveness, that is part of it. But the players have to make plays.
Right.
And then it was like they heard me. It was very weird. All of a sudden, like a bunch of good defensive plays. They got a big offense or a big defensive rebound, like after 3 chances. That was probably with like 3 minutes left. Maybe might have been less. By Hicks. Julian Rishway comes off the baseline. Dude for Utah State gets the ball inside. He's gonna be wide open. Rishway rushes him, rips the ball away. You know, they go the other way. Rishway 3. DJ Thomas, not a good game, but he had a chance to get downhill, went into the body of someone, got a foul, didn't make the free throw, but layup +1. And then at the end, the set didn't work. DJ's caught about 8 feet. He does a fadeaway jumper from, fall away. By the time he shot it, it was 14, makes it. And then they defend on the final play really well. Before we build on this, let's hear from Kruger, because I was asking him about Jalen Hill, and he explains what Jalen Hill did defensively. Little things matter.
Go back and watch Jalen Hill. He covers the flare for Martinez, which is really just a setup for him to come back off of a screen at the top of the key by Templin. And he top blocked it and didn't allow him to come back and catch it. I mean, if you've watched Utah State at all this year, if Martinez had a clean catch, it was going in. For him to kind of have that awareness and that recognition to take that kind of clean catch and shoot away and that option away from Martinez at the end of the game, I think was without a doubt the play of the game.
You got a big shot maker who's come through multiple times. What's the best way to make sure he doesn't make the big shot?
Right.
So, and Kruger's not going to take credit there, but whether it was him or Peary or one of the other assistants who came up with the final idea about defense, someone told Jalen Hill, that's your guy. The power forward Jalen Hill on a 2-man who's not tiny, he's 6'3", he played it perfectly. And the reason I asked the question is, like, I was sort of watching the ball, but I was like, I am watching what's going on with Martinez. Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, they're going to let him get the ball, and this killer is going to hit a 3 to tie the game. But Jalen Hill, great job. So I know it sounds stupid. It's sports radio. I'm trying to give you particulars, but sometimes you just have to make freaking plays, and that's been their problem in a lot of like 5-point or less games. The other teams made plays, had shots go in. They haven't.
A lot of college basketball is situational, right? And a team really getting up for a certain game. And I had a feeling because last year, right, this is the controversial game against Utah State when they were in the Thomas and Mack, and there was a call made, and there was a 4-point swing at the end there, and they won.
Well, there was a 3-ball, and as the ball was being shot, I think in the air, Caleb Boone tried to get position for a rebound against Great Osobor and ran into him at the free throw line. So they whistled that foul. 3 goes through, 2 more free throws, 5-point play.
That's it, 5 points.
And they had been up, and it's like, holy crap, how did this just happen?
Yep.
So they probably referenced that. But I'm going to hold off here. I'll tell you what I think they reference when Curtis Harry comes
Okay.
on, because I think it played out in the game. Well, I'll give a little hint. They got to play more physical. If you don't do that, the teams in the Mountain West are going to freaking steamroll you because that they're trained to play physically. I want to get CT's opinion on some NFL stuff too, but I want yours on Ben Johnson. Seems to be in a position here where he's the number one guy for the Raiders, and they're going to make sure they get a GM that he likes. What do you think of that? Never been a head coach.
I mean, they definitely have to work well together. So I do think it makes sense, and feel like Tom Brady is kind of behind all of this, right? And wants that setup. So he is probably seen things and thinks this is the best case scenario. I don't know. I mean, just having a coordinator, head coach first time is scary in itself, but I think he's one of the top candidates, right? That a lot of these teams want. So
Well, right now I'm thinking Kevin O'Connell is, if he's available, if the Vikings are going to keep jerking with him, if his local play-by-play announcer is going to keep attacking him, maybe at the behest of the owner, Ziggy Wilf. We talked about that a couple hours ago.
Yep.
So
He
I'm
would
a little up in
definitely
the
do
air
that.
on this because now, Griffin, I'll tell you, the other thing I'm starting to think about is you've been complaining about it most of the time with Brady, like pick a job. And reports that came out about 90 minutes ago that his agent told SBJ that, oh, no, Brady's going to keep announcing. He's going to fulfill the contract. So then for me, that means that Brady ain't going to be around all the time, is not going to be the strong president. So they need a really strong GM. So maybe the first priority should be getting a well-known GM, or the GM is going to have 70% of the power. Griffin?
Yeah, Brady's breaking my freaking heart. I like the decision. I like the thought process of get the head coach and the GM, fresh slate for both, have them be in the room together. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Tom Brady, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm looking at Tom Brady's offer, and Tom Brady, I don't know how many missed calls or how many texts he shot at Ben Johnson to recruit him over to Las Vegas. But I mean, if I'm looking over there at the Raiders history, the Raiders just looking at the, what has it been, 20 something years since they were in the playoffs. I'm looking at that situation. I'm like, listen, if Brady were the full time, like this was his main focus, I'd have a little bit more faith and I'd feel a little more comfortable going to Las Vegas. But if Brady's going to be, his time is split, his attention is split, maybe I could find a better spot and I could actually have a real, hit the floor running, kind of start with a team.
I mean, it's a great point. If Brady isn't going to be fully invested, you want somebody who's already been there, done that. So
it's not like I get it's not necessarily fair to basically undermine Brady and say, hey, you can't do both. You can't do it. But we're all just being realistic. We're all, especially everyone who's hoping to see the Raiders get back to a competitive spot and be a great team. We all just want the best for that team. And what the best thing is that the GOAT, Tom Brady, is solely focused on that.
Victory Burger, Circa Las Vegas here. We're on the overhang. This is a great place to watch the big game, the Super Bowl. Coming up first week of February. You can book your spot at circalasvegas.com, circalasvegas.com.
Meet Barkley. When Barkley smells gas, he leaves fast.